Welcome to episode number 112 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording live on Google Hangouts on air on September 19, 2015. We always start off with the worst stories in communications, online communications the past week. BL, you have the honors. What was the worst story?
Well, it started out as the worst, and then it became one of the best. But the story is about Ahmed Mohamed, the 14-year-old Muslim boy arrested in Texas for bringing a homemade digital clock to school. And the original source was the Dallas Morning News and a reporter named Nicole Stockdale. Ahmed was arrested for coming to school with this clock. He was handcuffed and brought to juvenile detention without his parents. And there was a young Muslim girl at the University of Texas who immediately started an IStandWithAhmed hashtag and started to tell the story. And what I found fascinating was that his family immediately started a Twitter stream, IStandWithAhmed, and immediately Anil Dash logged in and said, you know, this is what makes the country great, not what makes the country bad. And this is like really a bad thing that the school has done. Hillary Clinton came into it, and he won support from Obama, from President Obama, who said, cool clock, Ahmed, how about bringing it to the White House? Mark Zuckerberg said, you know, come to Facebook. He was offered a seat this weekend at Google's science fair. He was wearing a NASA t-shirt at the time he was arrested, and NASA did not actually say anything about him. They retweeted the president's tweet. But the IStandWithAhmed was used on Twitter. He got 83,000 followers immediately. The IStandWithAhmed hashtag was used 800,000 times in more than 370,000 tweets at a rate of 2,000 tweets per minute, according to Twitter data. And by Wednesday, he'd been invited to the White House, and he had all these offers for internships. And, you know, I believe that the school just completely overreacted, and that if there was a real issue, what they should have done is they should have taken the clock and they should have looked at it and they should have examined it. And what he said, and I think this is sad, is that apparently his teacher had never seen the inside of a digital clock, because that is what they look like. They're filled with wires. So it even got to the Republican debates, that ridiculous clown fest that they had on Wednesday night. And one of them, I forget who, they're all the same to me, one of them said, yeah, nobody should be arrested for that, or some anything like that. But anyway, apparently, David, you disagree.
Well, I think I had the initial reaction that everyone else did. I saw the IStandWithAhmed hashtag and checked it out because I didn't know what it was about, and read the headlines, and kid arrested in Texas for bringing a clock to school. And the picture is of him in handcuffs, this disarming little boy, right, with handcuffs on behind his back. And, you know, they had the same reaction everybody else had. Ridiculous. Come on, arresting kid for a clock because he made a digital clock. And so I had the same reaction everybody else did. But then on last night on Bill Maher's show, they showed a picture of the actual clock, and didn't look like a clock to me. It just looked like a bunch of wires and stuff. So I can
ever take your digital clock apart and see what's inside it, Dave?
No,
that's what they
never have.
Well, that's what they look like, and the science teacher should have known that.
I don't know.
The science teacher should know what the inside of a digital clock looks like.
I don't know whether the teacher that reacted that way was a science teacher or not. If she wasn't a science teacher, then, or he wasn't a science teacher, I don't know who it was, then how would they know what an inside of?
If they had an issue, they should have called somebody to look at it, not arrested the kid, put him in handcuffs, and take him to juvenile detention without his parents and without a lawyer. You don't do that. This is America. We don't do that.
Arrested, but I can understand looking at it. It doesn't look like a clock at all. So
well, we don't know what a clock looks like. That's what a clock looks like.
That's my point. My point.
Well, you know what? The kid has invented other things, and he's brought other things to school.
He's got set, though. He's going to the White House. He's got all kinds of offers. He's going to go to a good college. This kind of set him up.
All those things that he deserves, because he's a really smart kid, you know? I mean, but I found it fascinating that the family took to social media. I thought that was really a fascinating turn of events, and it happened very quickly. Smart of them.
Take advantage of the moment.
Yep, you have to.
Yeah. So on to other things. I have mentioned this before when word started leaking that Apple would build into their new iOS the ability or offer the ability for developers to include ad blockers as apps. I talked about that and the effect it might have on independent publishers such as, well, you and I. We have our own blogs. We have a blog for the Beyond Social Media show. I have a blog that I sell advertising on. I don't live off it, but it makes me a significant amount of money. But, you know, if that's going to be blocked, and given the trend we're going where most content or more and more content is being consumed on mobile devices, then blocking those ads is going to cut into my personal revenue stream. I think a lot of independent publishers who don't have the money to get access to Apple or whatever are going to be left in Apple's wake because of this. So Apple released their iOS 9 update. It did indeed have ad blockers in it, which quickly shot up the top of the paid charts. So Peace is one of the ad blockers. It was at the top of the chart the morning after the release of iOS 9. And it cost $2.99. Another blocker called Purify was fourth on the chart. That cost $3.99, and that blocks content as well. So that blocks not just ads, but tracking codes and everything like Google Analytics. Content blocker was a trending search in the App Store. So the demand for this is not surprising, right? I mean, nobody likes ads that clutter up your content or aren't applicable to you at all or irrelevant to you. The ad industry brought it on themselves by their tradition of interruption advertising and banner ads.
Which has only gotten worse. I mean, it's worse every, they come up with worse ways to interrupt what you're trying to look at every day.
There's the pop-up ads, the pop-under ads, the takeover ads. There's a hilarious segment of Aqua Teen Hunger Force where they're at a computer and the pop-ups are appearing and crowding out the room and knocking things over and everything. It's
or when they put the little X down at the lower left side instead of the top right, so you got to look for it.
So it's not surprising at all that people want that. But I heard a reporter who covers Apple for a major publication refer to this as, well, what Apple's really doing is protecting the consumer. What Apple's really doing is protecting the consumer from all these crappy ads. It was basically Apple's talking points. And okay, maybe, but maybe there's something else at work here. I think what Apple's doing is trying to drive a stake through the heart of Google's economic model. So Google depends on they have double clicks, so they sell banner advertising. Those ads are served on my site. They have all the tracking codes that are related to that. If you remove the banner ads from mobile sites and you remove the tracking codes,
and we don't get paid. That's what happens.
Exactly. You remove any incentive for you to use Google advertising. So that's what's really going on here. Plus, it's not like users are not going to be tracked anymore if they use these apps. They're just going to be tracked at the app and the iOS level by Apple. So Apple turns into this huge big data company, and they're protecting everybody's privacy, right?
Well, this also goes back to the content should be free argument, which is one of the more ridiculous ones that goes around the internet over and over. Content is not free. Somebody has to produce it. Time is money. You cannot just sit here and produce great content and not get paid. Yeah. I mean, somebody has to pay for the content.
The only way that what the fallout is going to be, a lot of independent publishers, as I said, are going to collapse because they can't do it anymore. They just can't justify it economically. But the content that is produced is going to be produced like people like me who have employed somewhere else and still want to produce content, or by brands, and you're not going to know what the agenda is behind the content, right? So you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you do. That's absolutely true. So another thing that happened that was related to Twitter this week was on The View. There were some ridiculous, flippant remarks about nurses. And what happened was that the Miss Colorado, Kelly Johnson, on her Miss America pageant, talent section, she did a nursing themed monologue and talked about how happy she was that she was able to have an impact on the lives of people through nursing. And she appeared in her purple nurse's scrubs with a stethoscope, and she was very emotional and talked about comforting an Alzheimer's patient, for example. And the hosts of The View, Michelle Collins and Joy Behar, proved that they weren't very, what would be the word? Anyway, Collins mocked Johnson for the speech and said, you know, she just really didn't think it was surprising that she didn't win. And so this whole social media backlash started with the hashtag Nurses United, and nursing professionals responded to The View, and immediately they lost 2 sponsors. They lost Johnson & Johnson, who said Johnson & Johnson values and appreciates nurses. Well, of course they do. And who was the other one they lost? They lost Eggland's Best, and again, from the mockery of nurses. And you know, this is just ridiculous. Eggland's Best said, in light of the comments, we will no longer be advertising on the show in question. That's all they had to say. I mean, that was just heartless and ridiculous. Come on. You know, I mean, there is a price to pay. You have to think about what you're saying. Johnson. But of course, as Gail Collins points out in the New York Times today, if you say something and then people call you on it, you just do what Donald Trump does, and you say, I didn't say that.
Yeah. That's always an option.
Does that bring us to better news?
It does indeed. I got a fabulous one that I just came across today on Facebook.
Go ahead.
From the Missing Groove Facebook page, who posted it's a video ad that Tide did to take advantage of, it's basically real-time marketing in a sense. Tide mocking Kim Davis in an online ad. So Kim Davis is, of course, the Kentucky clerk who was denying marriage licenses and went to jail and is still apparently mucking things up. Tide put together this ad of a gay couple holding hands walking to the door of the church. That's how the ad starts out. There's a pastor and a woman standing before them. The woman sees them, frowns, says stop right there basically, and says, how offensive. The guys react, excuse me? I won't let you blemish the sanctity of marriage. And they of course object to this. And she pulls out a Tide to Go stick from her purse and rubs a stain out of one of the guy's shirts, and then straightens the other guy's tie, and then says, there, flawless, carry on, boys. And it closes with Tide, never tolerate the stain. So, I mean, just very, very smart way of capitalizing on a newsjacking story and appealing to a very specific audience. So
they've done more than one like that. They did one with Cheerios, but yeah, just really wonderful. I came across something that I think is really wonderful, and you know, marijuana is legal in 23 states now in Washington D.C. So the Highway advocacy group We Save Lives launched a PSA to educate people about the fact that drunk, drugged, and distracted driving are all equally problematic. And what they did, and this is a story that I got from Amy Corse out to launch, what they did was they put a message on Weed Advisor rolling papers. And so what happens is, as you roll the joint into cigarette form, an image of 2 cars are coming closer together until they crash in a head-on collision. And it says, pot slows your reactions, don't smoke and drive, on the rolling papers. And then they went to the World Cannabis Week convention, which must have been quite an event, and they distributed 2,000 packs of them, and they're looking into ways to distribute more of them. And it was done by Bravo YR. What a great
That's
idea.
Very clever. Very clever.
I mean, you remember when you had those little books that you would flip? It was like a flip book. So you're rolling the joint and the cars come, boom, and crash.
That's smart. That's very smart.
And then they interview all these people at the weed convention to go, oh, yeah, man, that's a really good idea. Yeah, I would definitely think that's good. It's a video. We'll have the link in the show notes.
So Flickr's got a new experiment they're working on, and it highlights the trend towards immersive experiences. So they want you to explore your photos in virtual reality. This is from an Engadget story by Nicole Lee. And at the XOXO Festival in Portland, Oregon, which I don't even know what that festival is, but there it is. It's in Portland, Oregon. Flickr is showing off an early preview of a virtual reality experience that it hopes will integrate with its photo service. So they're using an Oculus headset hooked up to a PC, and the idea is that you'll be able to view 360-degree panoramic photos using the headset. Still in the very early days, so a lot could change. The Bertrand Pham is the front-end architect who is demonstrating the project. His plan right now is to add a VR headset link or button at the bottom of every page for a 360-degree photo. So if you have a headset, then you can use it. Demo currently works only with Oculus, but he hopes to integrate with Gear VR and other VR headsets. There will eventually be an Explore section of Flickr devoted to 360-degree panoramic photos. Eventually, you'll be able to organize your photos with Minority Report type interface using virtual reality. And he holds out that the initial stages of the Flickr VR will be available to the public earlier next year. So there is a demand. People are taking more 360 photos. My Google Photo app or Google Street View app now has the Sphere 360-degree functionality built in. So that's going to continue.
I love that. You know, anything. I mean, I have more camera apps on my phone than you can shake a stick at. But I mean, that's the next one. So there's a video this week by Mickey Willis, and the source of this is my friend E.B. Moss, who had it on Facebook. And Willis made a video about his son and how he got two of the same toys, I guess, for his birthday. And so he brought one back and chose another one. And the one he chose, his son is like, I don't know, he looked like he was about 3 years old. And he chose a doll with a crown. It was like a queen doll. And he made a video about it, and the video went viral. It had more than 3.3 million views. And then he made a second video with his son saying, you know, people supported him in a big way. It was pretty wonderful, but of course there were a couple of people who didn't. And so the second video, he's with his son, and his son is saying, there are a lot of good people out there, but there was one really bad person. and he's telling his son, you know, no matter what you ever decide in your life, I am always going to support you in every way. And, you know, if that's what you want, that's fine with me. And that video, of course, has gone viral as well. And it's really worth a look because it's just the sweetest thing in the world.
It's very sweet. Very sweet. I got one last one. So, and this is quick. Periscope has added profile pages. So this is from Martin Beck's Marketing Land article. You go to periscope.tv/your username and you'll see your profile there. It's very rudimentary. It has any recent broadcast and there's your basic bio and icon and how many people are following you and those basic stats. But what my question is why can't platforms do this from the start? When you launch Periscope, why didn't we have profiles pages from the start? Because it's really, if you want to build a followership on your new platform, it's really hard to do it without an actual link to point people to.
Right, exactly. Like, where do I find you? I don't know.
Yeah. So it just seems like this is a very simple thing that platforms that are not web centric, apps and stuff can do to help themselves market themselves.
Well, it ought to be 101 for them, you know? So that brings us to shiny new objects. And as everyone must know by now, the Pope is visiting next week. And so there's already a Pope Francis emoji keyboard. Last week we told you about the Pope Francis toaster. Now there's 52 Pope-themed stickers and animated GIFs of Pope Francis. And it's available for iOS and Android, and you use it like any other keyboard. It's meant to commemorate the Pope's visit and the landmarks he's going to go to. So it includes the Statue of Liberty and the Lincoln Memorial. And it also includes illustrations of the Pope eating a hot dog, taking selfies, playing soccer, and football.
That's funny.
Well, you know, they're going to close Central Park next week. I'm not thrilled about that. But a lot of people want to see the Pope.
I've got nothing Pope related. This is a Kickstarter from a local guy here in Minneapolis named Josh Basara. Sorry, Josh. He runs Monkey Island, which is a landing page optimization firm, but he's also working on a smart home appliance called Fluid, and it is a smart water meter. So it's you basically it's a smartphone app. It's a device that you clamp onto a pipe, and it takes a pulse basically of your water usage, so you can get insight in your water use like never before, in order to conserve water, save money, detect leaks by monitoring your water in real time. Like I said, you clamp it on a pipe, it listens to the water flow that goes through the pipe and creates a sound signature for each water source. So showers, toilets, kitchen tap, your dishwasher, your washer, dryer, sprinklers, and it sends notifications of any irregularities to your app. So you will be told if, for instance, your garden hose is left on and the water's running constantly, you're wasting water, or if there's a pipe burst and there's a possible leak. So it's set to track water consumption. You can set it to track water consumption goals. It's planned support for existing smart home platforms like SmartThings and Nest. Backing level begins at $25. For $209, you can get a device. It retails for $299. They also got a property pack for property like renters, landlords and stuff, for $16.50, where you get 10 of these devices as well. So very cool device, and an example of the Internet of Things, basically.
That's a very good idea, and it will help a lot of people who have issues like their country home and, you know, need to call somebody because there's a pipe issue and they're in another state. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
And
so
given the other aspect of this I didn't mention, I want to make sure I say, is water is a resource that's becoming scarce. I mean, it's a global issue, so it does contribute to the good of our overall society. So.
Well, this certainly does not contribute to the good of overall society, but it is a lot of fun. Oscar Mayer has a dating app for bacon lovers. It's only for iOS, sorry. And it matches you up with other people who love bacon. And it's got a hilarious, hilarious video. You really have to see the video. It's too funny.
Well, imagine there's a huge appeal, because bacon's a pretty popular food type. So,
well, bacon, you know, like what could be bad about bacon?
Yeah. My other one is not a particular well, I guess it is. Consumer 360-degree video cameras. So this is sort of ties in with the Flickr story earlier. This is from a LA Times story by Tracy Lean, and so we know about the GoPro camera array. We talked about that before. It's a headset basically with 16 GoPro cameras arranged on top. You can put it on your head, you can put it on a tripod or whatever, and it coordinates the shots of all those 16 cameras. And of course, it costs $15,000.
And you have to go to physical therapy after you wear it because your neck is...
that nobody can afford it. But this is a story about the pricing of consumer-oriented 360-degree photos, so cameras. So the prices of that technology are coming down. The reporter focuses on one in particular, the Ricoh Theta S, which is a slender device. It's sort of a cross between a voice recorder and a chubby Apple TV remote, is how she describes it. It has two lenses, each capable of capturing 190 degrees. So it captures images and videos in 360 degrees total. It's slated for launch in November at $349.
Wow.
Exactly. One of the first 360-degree consumer cameras. You hold the camera above your head, just stick the camera out, push a button, it captures everything. It has a 6-way accelerometer and a compass. It captures data from the location of the camera, as well as the orientation and direction of the camera. There's competitors. That one's already on the market, 360 Fly, which is a black orb-like camera that went on sale at Best Buy last month. It's waterproof. That is selling for $399. There's a Bubble Cam, which will launch later this year at $799. And there's Gyroptic. It's a palm-sized camera that resembles a children's toy, has 3 eye-like lenses. It's available for pre-order at $499. A launch date hasn't been announced for that yet, but the consumerization, the cost of these cameras are coming down, so we are going to see more immersive photography in our in the not too distant future.
Well, you know, the cost of cameras in general has come down so much. I mean, a friend of mine just went on a safari in Africa, and the camera that she took with her was a $250 camera that did more than you can imagine, you know, a $1,000 camera doing 2 years ago. And it was light and it was small. It fit in your, I think it was a Samsung. I have to look it up. But as it turned out, like she brought back the brand new $250 one and bought the previous model because it had something that was even better that she wanted that they'd taken out. And that was $200. Wow. You know, I mean, my most recent camera was a $650 camera that doesn't do half the things that this $200 camera did. So I think the whole thing started with everybody having a camera in their pocket.
Yep.
And, you know, they have to compete with that. But, you know, what's also interesting is that the Polaroid camera is coming back. And what does it do? It prints to Instagram or some crazy thing like that?
The Instagram camera, yeah.
Yeah, you know, from Polaroid. I mean, they're not down for the count. So that brings us to what projects?
It does indeed.
So we are, by the way, going to do a post-show blab at 1:15, and the link is on the event page and on Twitter. Talking about blab, during Communications Week New York, I'm hosting a blab panel called Video Communications Revolution, Should Your Clients Blab? And that will be on October 22nd at 3 p.m. And it'll be listed as soon as blab lets us get to that date.
Very cool. Very cool. I was listed in a list of content marketing kings and queens you should follow. So I was flattered to be included in that. There's a lot of good people to follow on that. So
oh my God, you're on such a great list, and they're so right to have you on there, Dave. I mean, your content is great, and I'm sure you don't sleep because you put out more content than any other individual on the planet. So everybody should be reading you and following you, and you know, congratulations. That's really cool and well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you. So daily numbers. Time spent on mobile devices, apps versus mobile browsers. This is from Flurry. And given our talk about Apple earlier, I thought this was appropriate to keep. And 90% of the time on mobile devices is spent within apps. So that plays to Apple's strength, right? They are the app store of record, basically. A breakdown of time spent on mobile devices. 19% of people spending their time in mobile apps are using Facebook. They're using Facebook 19% of the time, I should say. Entertainment apps, 17% of the time. Gaming apps, 15%. Messaging, social apps, 12%. Utilities, 8%. Productivity, 4%. YouTube, 3%. News, 2%. Comparatively, so 90% of the time they're spending their time in apps. Obviously, that leaves 10% for mobile browsers. Safari has a 6%. 6% of it is Safari, 4% of it is Chrome. So there you go.
I'm surprised those percentages are so small.
Yeah.
That could be bigger, you know? Yeah. So I believe that brings us to the end of episode 112 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And we will timestamp the video, and it will be on our blog, and we will include the playlist, and we encourage you to subscribe to our blog and to our newsletter. And Dave, you're going to have to take us out because I can't find the end of the show.
Thank you for watching episode 112 of the Beyond Social Media Show. We'll have links to everything on the blog at beyondsocialmediashow.com/112 later today or tomorrow. Let us know what you think. If you like the show, leave us a review. You can find places to leave us reviews at beyondsocialmediashow.com/love. We'll have links to our iTunes or our Stitcher account there. You can find me on D. Erickson on Twitter. My blog is e-strategyblog.com. I also blog at my agency's blog, creativepr.com/blog. BL you can find on Twitter at What's Next. Her blog is what'snextblog.com. You can find her on Maximum-Plus, where you can hire her for all things video, online, etc. All her many, many talents, so hire her there. And you can find the show at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. We're on Twitter at BS Media Show. And subscribe to our newsletter, our weekly newsletter, so you don't miss an episode. You'll have exclusive content as well. BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/newsletter. Until next week, thanks so much for watching.
So please join us at 1:15 on Blab for a post-show Blab where we will talk about the show, but not about Blab because we don't want to talk about Blab. during blab. Anyway, hope to see you next week, same time, same station, and hope to see you at the post-show blab. You will find the link on the show page and also on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching.